Welcome back.
What's up, guys?
How you doing?
Yeah.
All right, we're all a little excited here. Season 2. It's been a while. Season 2, episode 10.
It's been a while.
Ecuador Insider Podcast. Are we having a title for each show? I don't think so. But on this show, we are answering questions. We are answering questions that mostly, I believe, came off of YouTube, probably other places as well. But our lovely staff has made us a nice list here of questions that we're going to be answering. So thanks for tuning in. Welcome back. We're really going to try to get more consistent and bang this out every week. So root for us. We're rooting for us. And thanks for tuning in. Question number 1. What is the best way to start the process of moving to Ecuador? Who can we work with to get our visas started? How long does the process take? So I will just mention real quick before Ryan takes over, because he is the visa man, but there are 2 ways to do it. You can go through the embassies in other countries, and that's something you should be aware of because a lot of people don't tell you that. And the process can really vary as far as the timing, whether you're doing it in Ecuador or not. So Ryan will talk a little bit more about in Ecuador, but some of the embassies will do it in 24 hours. Obviously with COVID and all that stuff going on, you know, that each embassy has discretion as to how they do it. But I've definitely seen many clients over the years, and years ago we used to help them with this, get through the embassies quickly and easily, even in a 24-hour turnaround or less. So just something to be aware of, and of course you can do it in country also.
What's the question again?
Visa process. What's the best way to start the process of moving Ecuador? We kind of skipped that. We should talk about that.
Let me just start there.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the best way to get started is to reach out to us. I'm going to be there responding. I'm going to answer all the preliminary questions that most people have. And that's before having a conversation with one of our visa specialists that we refer people to, because they're going to charge you for their time, and they're going to tell you the exact specific steps that you need to take depending on what country you're calling from, on what paperwork you need to start to request your local municipality to get started on for you, so on and so forth. But there's a lot of things that you can think about to consider before that step is taken.
And next part of that question is, who can we work with to get our visas started? Obviously you kind of touched on that, but we have great contacts we'd be happy to refer to you, I think is the takeaway.
I mean, basically just email us at info@abecuador.com, and then I'll refer you to the visa specialists that we're currently working with. We do vet our visa specialists. We make sure that they continue to do a good job for all of our expat clients, and if for some reason they start to get too busy, start to fail in certain areas, we move on. And so we're not going to list that here on a YouTube video that somehow we're going to have to keep up with and determine in the future if that's still a good contact. So just reach out for more info in that regard.
And lastly, how long does the process take? I sort of hesitate to even answer this because it changes so frequently. I mean, over the years, there's been such different time durations that it's taken to get the visa, and then COVID slowed things down, and then they put everything online and it sped up again, and then they got backlogged and it got slow again, and so I hesitate to even answer that because it'll be dated very quickly.
Yeah, I don't think you can answer. I know a lot of the embassies and consulates in the United States have staffing issues right now, or not answering their phones or emails, and so I mean that's a step you need to take, and if they're not getting back to you, then who knows how many weeks or months you can delay the process.
Do you have any companies you recommend that can help us bring down a shipping container of our household goods?
There is a shortage of shipping containers worldwide right now, but I think that there are people that we know of still taking orders, and are we listing that in the description below, or should we have them?
I don't know. I mean, I'd say reach out to us.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have someone
Email.
who we recommend to people who we've had good experiences with. One thing I would just add, that process is a pain in the butt no matter what.
Yeah.
It's probably the worst. It's probably the most difficult thing I think of moving here is like dealing with customs, trying to bring your shipping containers. Lots of people do it. Sometimes it goes smoothly, but more often than not, it doesn't. So it's an interesting debate, like bring the container or not. I kind of think it's only worth it if you're either have a lot of really sentimental items or a lot of high value items. But even that is getting less sort of makes less sense as prices here come down continually with these trade deals and lowered taxes and lowered import taxes.
Yeah.
Right.
But we're happy to recommend a shipping agent, I should say, to you. Many people asking, oh, that was for me. We would like to see a map of the areas you are talking about in your videos. Great idea. We'll make it happen. Ryan, make it happen.
Yeah, I'll put it on the list. We'll make it happen.
It's going on the list, baby.
Yeah.
When relocating to Ecuador, what do you think is the best way to explore the country to know where to settle? Any thoughts? You?
Well, if you Google Ecuador relocation tour, you're bound to find a few people who you can use to tour. There's one that I just came across, and I put the note in my phone, but I'm using my phone right now to record this, so
we'll put it in the notes.
We'll put it in the notes. But anyways, just stumbled upon them. They do a 10-day tour of Ecuador, including outside of Quito, the coast, Cuenca, and they make it down to Loja and Vilcabamba all in 10 days. I think it's somewhere around $1,800. But yeah, check them out, and we actually hope to make contact with them just to ensure that they're a good service, and maybe we'll recommend them officially moving forward, have some type of partnership. But for right now, that's a decent way to see the country, or just navigate yourself, and you can always reach out to me and I can help you with some travel logistics.
Anything on Carl?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard some people when they land in Quito, you can rent a car there and then kind of do your own tour, go down to towards Cuenca, go to the coastal route, eventually land south here in Loja and explore this area. That's probably a good way if you want to be on your own. You don't want to be on a tour, with other people, and on their timeline, you can have more time to explore a little more.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, either the tour or doing it by yourself are really the two choices. That just depends on what kind of person you are, if you're into groups or you like to do things on your own. I do think it makes sense flying into Quito and then going to the coast, traveling the coast, coming up to Cuenca, then Loja, Vilcabamba is a good way to do it. You don't see the Orient, you don't see the Amazonian region then, so you kind of have to hit that later. But logistically, it's a good way to see most of the country in a pretty short period of time. Okay, what documents do I need to get a visa in Ecuador? Again, these change, and each visa has its own requirements. We're not going to make a visa video right now, but the police report, FBI if you're coming from the States, or national criminal history if you're coming from another country, you need for any visa. And beyond that, it depends on the visa you're applying for, and you're welcome to reach out to us again, and we'll refer you to the specialist, and they can take it from there.
Yeah.
Okay. Next section, making a life here. It must be hard to get good cell service there with all those mountains. Not really. Go ahead, Carl.
I mean, some areas you don't get good phone service, but anywhere around Vilcabamba, there are cell phone towers. So you get pretty good cell phone service in most places. If you're really remote, maybe not. But in general, yes.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's partly true. If you're traveling from Vilcabamba to Loja, half the way doesn't have cell service, but again, if you're here in Vilcabamba, you'll have cell reception. A lot of people who purchase properties that are just outside of town just get internet, whether it's Wi-Fi or plug it into a phone, then you can just use Wi-Fi to use WhatsApp and make calls that way. So there are ways around it.
And there's also different carriers that are good in different areas. So usually, like the area you settle in, you'll end up getting the cell phone provider that has the most service in that even town or that area. And most places have pretty decent coverage unless you're way out or you're in a valley where there's mountains all around you. But in general, I would say the cell phone service is probably not quite where it is in the States just because we're more mountainous, but in that direction for sure. I'm curious about different types of education for my kids. What is the public and private schooling like there? What are the prices?
You probably have a better idea than us. I've never put my child in school.
Oh, you haven't? Yeah.
No.
Okay, so I have a 12-year-old, about to be 13-year-old, who's kind of run the gamut of schooling options here. We started with Calandria, which is a school here in Vilcabamba, very alternative. I don't have much experience with them since 2003 13. So I couldn't tell you much about them now, but I know we have some friends that have their kids in that school. It's nice to have it's a private school, very alternative school. It's nice to have that option here in Vilcabamba. Beyond that, I can't speak to it. Then she ended up in a Mauta in Loja, which is actually kind of a cool school. It's in the woods, basically. It's in sort of a nature preserve in Loja. So it's surrounded by beautiful nature and streams, and it's semi-Montessori based. They do some Montessori stuff. It's really focuses on art and art, performing arts, those kinds of things. That's a decent place. She was there for a bit. Then she also went to San Gerardo, which is a school that a lot of people like. Also in Loja, that's more traditional but still private. Public school, of course, is there as well. I don't have personal experience with it. I think probably there's good ones and bad ones like the States. In general, it's much more low tech than back home. Not as pretty, not as good looking. The classrooms can be pretty, I don't know, is run down too strong a word, but rustic, thank you. That's right. So yeah, I mean, I think, the bottom line is there's good choices if you want to send your kids to school. I think, there are parents who have sent their kids to public schools. I think a mutual friend of ours, kids are in public school. A lot of people do the private, and then of course a lot of people homeschool and do that as well.
What about pricing?
Pricing, thank you. So we were paying at a Mauta, and it may have gone up since then, but we were paying, I think, $160 a month. This is one of the 2 or 3 best private schools in Loja. Then at San Gerardo, I think we were paying like $170 or $180, so it was a little pricier. And so it's very affordable. I mean, for a similar school like that back home, when my daughter was 4 or 5 years old, I was paying $1,200 a month in Brooklyn. So certainly more affordable here for sure.
Definitely.
And people are very, the culture is very oriented towards children. So it's like, people are very nice. There's not really bullies to speak of. Teachers are kind. It's a nice, in general, I think the environment is pretty good.
I'd like to add something. I've been talking with different clients who have been asking about schools for their children, and a few of them actually have some teaching experience. And like I was saying, if they could help instruct somebody who has a desire to teach we could probably start a school here in Vilcabamba that's private, and that's kind of like math and reading, arithmetic, the whole normal I guess normal schooling that maybe most people are familiar with from the States. I think La Calandria is referred to here. The only other public one, or private one here is I think referred to as a bit more free spirit. It's a little bit more, I don't know how else to...
Maybe self-directed learning, that might be the term.
Sure.
I've heard the term free-range kids.
There you go.
Free-range kids, yeah. So, I think that if there's that, then that could cater to those who want to have their child more in that type of an environment. And I think there's probably now a need for the other spectrum of school. And so if you want to start that school, I think it could be profitable for you. You could actually make money doing it. Not that it's all about making money, but hey, if you want to move here, you're looking for something to do, and you want to be a school administrator and hire teachers and manage that and manage all the financing, I think that there could be something there for you here.
I agree. It's needed. It'd be a great service. People would appreciate it. I agree completely. Are there lots of people homeschooling there? Yes, there is. We answered that. Are there activities and sports for kids to participate in? Absolutely. Carl actually heads up a Saturday bike ride for kids that my daughter participates in quite a bit. My daughter's in karate. I'm just talking about Vilcabamba. My daughter's in karate. There's art classes. She's going to start, there's multiple art classes. There's, different martial arts. There's sports. There's soccer. There's really the gamut. There's even there's a theater group. I don't know, they're not really like a kids group, but I think if a kid was into theater, they could probably get into that. There's all kinds of stuff. I'm sure you guys have things to add.
No, one thing that there was a professional basketball player who was hosting a basketball clinic for the kids I don't think that's happening anymore, but I think he wanted to pick it up.
Yeah,
again.
the municipio kind of shut that down for the whole situation, but yeah, I'm sure that'll start back. That was great. My daughter was doing that as well.
Yeah.
And then in Loja, there's everything as well. So we shouldn't leave Loja out of this. Loja's only 45 minutes from Vilcabamba. It's 30 minutes from where I live. There's ballet in Loja. There's bike racing, regular racing, track and field, all the sports. There's gymnastics. There's swimming. Literally you name it, they have it in Loja as well. Okay, how is the internet stability? Is it difficult to maintain an online business? This is depends who you ask. I have my take, but let me hear what you guys have to say first.
Well, we have fiber optic. Let's just get that out there. We have fiber optic, high-speed internet in Vilcabamba, Loja, points in between, and even further south, Masanamaca, Kinara. You can get fiber optic in these areas, and you can pay to have super high speed. So really, the short answer is yes. But it is Ecuador, so sometimes infrastructure, wind, knocking power lines down, so you could have some interruptions here and there. I don't know if that is any different than the States.
Yeah, there has been issues throughout the years with internet, but nothing not more than a day will cut off. I've never had more than 24 hours.
Yeah.
What can happen is like Ryan said, when the fiber optic cable breaks, then the whole thing goes down. They have to come and install a new fiber optic cable. They're very fragile. I hear people complaining about it. I haven't had that many issues personally with internet.
Yeah, so right, so that's right. I think it's if you have fiber optic, you think the internet's great and you love it, and if you don't, you have lots of problems with it. So there is fiber optic now in most places, and since I got fiber optic, a few years back, my internet has been incredible. I spend either $30 or $40 a month. It's very inexpensive. And my daughter's using it, and my wife's using it, and I'm using it. Usually, a lot of times the stuff I'm using for is intense use of the internet, conference calls and uploading and downloading stuff to the cloud, video, 4K video and things like that. It's phenomenal. I actually think the internet's better here than it is in the States, because I talk to people back home. They're always complaining. They're spending lots of money. They're not having they're having interruptions. I don't think I've had more than 10 minutes or something where the internet shut off in the last couple of years since I've had fiber optic at the house, and then I had fiber optic at the office before that, which was great. But another way they do it is sort of like antenna. It's like short antenna relay internet, and that is definitely not quite as reliable, I believe.
Okay.
Okay, where am I? Sports, online business. Okay, we have the impression that Vilcabamba is full of vegans. We are not vegan. Would we feel comfortable and welcome there? Well, I'll just start by saying you're talking to three people who are also not vegans. My personal take is that there is definitely a lot of health conscious people here, and there are definitely probably a higher percentage of vegans maybe than there would be just in the world, but they're still not, you don't feel that at all. I wouldn't say that, if there's more vegans here than there is in another community, it's 10% more. It's not, it's not something that is something you would notice even living life here at all.
I would say there's a really high concentration of ex-vegans.
That's true too. That's true too.
A lot of people came here as vegans and kind of, became a little more lax, I think, is what I've noticed.
Yeah, the meat here is amazing. We've got, nice organic free-range chicken available. Same with cattle. There's free-range cattle everywhere. There's no need for, heavily pesticided, is that a word? Pesticided
Sure.
Hay that they eat during the winter and all of that. They're roaming around doing their thing here. So a lot of good meat.
Yeah.
We got free range kids, chicken, and cattle.
Yeah, we got it all. Goat too. There's goat.
Oh yeah, there's goat. You can get sheep, lamb, and
Right,
all
right.
that. Yeah, there's everything.
Yeah.
Delicious trout, fish. So no, you're not going to feel uncomfortable here as a meat eater. Most people here eat meat. It's not a vegan community or anything like that. There's probably a normal amount of vegans who do their thing, and that is cool too. That Ryan mentioned, there's no such thing here as grass-fed beef. It's all grass-fed beef.
Exactly.
They don't feed them anything else.
Right.
So you can really, the meat quality is excellent.
Right.
Are there poisonous snakes and dangerous wildlife in the area?
Ooh.
Sounds
No.
like you got something to say.
I mean, no. I mean, yes, but no.
Right.
I've
No,
never.
that's actually right. Yeah.
I actually just, I like to trail jog, and I just saw my first snake. I've been here for 3.5 years, and I saw my first snake. I was jogging, and I literally was gonna go, and I was gonna step on it, and I did like a stutter step, and like jumped over it.
him?
Like I juked him and went off. It was crazy, but no, that typically does not happen. You know, they're in the bush, they're there, but it's nothing like the Orient, nothing like the Amazon region. We do have a few varieties of snakes here that are poisonous. The hospitals here have the anti-venom, but I mean, I've never heard of anybody getting bit by one, and I don't think anybody has.
Me neither. No, haven't heard of anyone. What I've heard is sometimes cows would get bit by them, like way up in the mountains, and be killed by poisonous snakes.
Right.
But not close to popular areas, like way up and close to
Sure.
the national forest, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I second all of that. So poisonous snakes exist in this area. They don't bother people. You never hear about anyone getting bit. No one talks about it. No one worries about it. Everyone wears shorts. I mean, it's not something that you have to think about at all. Scorpions do exist here. I've seen them twice, I think. I've also never heard of anyone getting bit or ever being a problem, or it's not something people think about or worry about at all.
Well, I mean, we had one in our house 2 nights ago.
Did you?
Yeah, I would say they love our bathroom for some reason, and so in any case, the scorpions do come in like during a rain, or like they'll come inside if possible. So make sure you build your house securely. Maybe don't leave cracks. Like I think we have cracks, but in any case, these scorpions are not the ones in other parts of the world where if you get stung, it's actually really dangerous and you might die. It's just it's like a really intense hornet sting, and it hurts like a banshee. And there's some things you can do.
So banshees are painful.
They are. We should do a podcast on banshees. I don't know if you could look that up. It's no. But yeah, it's really not that big of a deal. Like they're around. Nobody worries about them, but you'll see them, and they're small, and and you just hit them with a shoe, and it's done.
Yeah, they're tiny. They're not very big.
And they don't like the main paths. I've noticed they're always like on the side. Like I think they sense main paths, and they don't like it. So they're around, but they're not going to get you.
Yeah, and sorry, continue.
Well, I've had one in my shoe once before. Yeah, and I put my
That
shoe on.
contradicts what I just
And like
said.
an hour later, you said they don't go in shoes?
No, I said they don't go in main paths, but I think the shoe is a main
No,
path.
they hid in my shoe, dude.
Oh, that's wow.
And I put my shoe on, and an hour later, I was like, man, my toe's like numb, it's hurting. And I knocked it was still alive, but it was just kind of half dead, basically.
Wow.
So it had stung you.
Yeah, it
and
stung
you
me
didn't
on
even
the toe.
notice other than that.
It was a baby, I think. It was a smaller one. It wasn't as
Wow.
painful as I had
See,
my dog gotten stung by one, and it seemed really painful for the dog.
See, I've only actually, you guys have way more. I've only seen one twice.
Oh, wow.
One was on the inside of a lady's jacket, and she almost put it on and then saw it and didn't.
Wow.
This was years ago. And then the other day, there was one literally like an inch long in my living room, standing there with its tail up.
Wow.
And I freaked out because I had no idea they're just like a bee sting. I thought, you could like die or something. And I'm like whacking it with his shoe and like, going crazy, grabbing my son and pulling him out. But
Yeah.
but that was only 2 times I've seen it. Other dangerous wildlife, no, nothing that I know of. But yeah, as Ryan said, so if you're in like the Zamora region, there are snakes. There's snakes. You actually people usually wear boots if you're in high grass, and like you kind of have to keep an eye out for snakes. But again, the hospitals have the antidote. It's not, unless you're hours out, which you could be in trouble then. But unless you're hours out, you'll be fine. Interesting also, as you move south in the Orient to Zumba, you don't have to worry about snakes. It's more like this area. They exist, but they don't bite anyone. You don't have to worry about it. So. Okay, how is the pandemic affecting you there? I read that there are curfews in some places. We want to visit soon. Should we wait? So yeah, obviously this is going to be dated tomorrow, but I guess maybe we can give a little history. So Ecuador closed very strongly and very early in the process. They were one of the first countries to sort of shut down and do that whole thing. They're also then one of the first countries to open back up and have essentially been open since then. We have had a couple of times where there have been some curfews. Recently we had 4 weekends where there was some curfews. We've gone in and out of curfew a little bit, but very little. In general, we've been open and free for almost this whole time, other than the first, I'm terrible with time. Was that a month, 2 months, 3 months? Do you remember in the beginning how long that was?
Maybe 3-4 months.
Maybe 3 or 4 months?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some travel restrictions, but
Yeah.
ultimately you can get around them. So you just have to know what routes to take, and friends have gatherings to get around it. Although some people would say, "Why are you gathering together? You guys should be isolated to
Rebels,
prevent
baby.
the spread of this major pandemic." But we did it anyways. We were rebellious, and so here it seems as if some things started to go on as normal, and so as long as you know how to navigate yourself around checkpoints and stuff here, you can still continue to hang out with friends and family.
And currently there's none of that. So that
there's
he's
none.
talking about in the past, currently
Right.
we're totally...
But some people are afraid that there would be another pandemic in the future, and then what would it look like here? Would it be any different than the States? And I say absolutely different. Here they're a little bit less organized on enforcing restrictions, so there's a little bit more room for freedom
that's a great point.
for rebellious people.
Yeah,
For us super spreaders over here.
right. And also the fact that we're in a rural area and it's not a very highly populated area. There's been a lot less restrictions. At least the restrictions haven't been very enforced. There was a weekend curfew, as Jesse was mentioning, but I went out with my son on the trails, and there were people walking, and the police drove by us and asked us to put our masks on, and they didn't but we were breaking the curfew basically.
Yeah.
I mean, they seem to they haven't been enforcing much of the restrictions here.
Right.
Like they haven't been fining anyone. They haven't been telling people go home.
It's been a pretty good place to live, I'd
Yeah.
say, through this
Yeah.
situation.
Right.
Do we need to get the COVID vaccine to come to Ecuador? What about a PCR test? Again, this could be dated very quickly, but currently, as I understand it, they are requiring the PCR test still. I would assume the vaccine would cover that, although I haven't actually looked at that.
Yeah, I don't know.
But they're requiring the PCR test within 72 hours of travel. I believe we should have prepared for this better, but I believe that if you don't get it, they'll just give it to you upon arrival. At the airport, but they're legally you're supposed to get it within 72 hours of arrival, prior to your arrival, I should say.
Did we say specifically, no, you don't need a vaccine?
You
to
do not
enter?
need a vaccine.
Right.
Right. And interestingly, on the vaccine subject, which is important to people, Ecuador has announced publicly now twice they are not going to make the vaccine mandatory. I'm not talking about for travel, but I just mean for life, for the citizenry. They will not make it mandatory. They've actually announced that twice, and I think I don't think that's a concern in this country. Okay, what about safety? Do you feel safe? Are there home break-ins?
There has been home break-ins. I feel very safe personally. Nothing has ever happened to me or my family. They're isolated cases. It's not a common thing, but it's something that has happened in the community throughout the 10 years that I've been here. I would say generally that happens when people are very isolated. I might be wrong. I mean, I've seen sometimes that happen where they're kind of on their own and they don't have a lot of security, and maybe they have a little more wealth than their neighbors close by. But I think maintaining good relationship with your neighbors, keeping the neighborhood watch, going, is definitely a good way to keep safe. Having a guard dog is helpful as well. What do you guys say?
Well, I will say that who you deal with and how you interact with the locals is a huge deal. I think if you look at some of these isolated events, maybe if you look into the circumstances behind that break-in, maybe you're gonna find there was something to say about that.
Right.
So I don't think it's just random targeting, and if it is, you likely have something showing that it looks like they can get. So here it's not really all about the outside appearance of your home. A lot of the locals actually have ugly looking exterior of their homes, but inside is like completely gorgeous, and because they don't really want to attract that. I would say here, though, overall, we're not really finding a ton of reports. It's super isolated events over the last 10 years. So statistically, we're probably way better off than other parts of the world.
Yeah, so here's my spiel on safety. So first of all, statistically speaking, it's the third safest country in all of Latin America behind Chile and Argentina. So statistically, this is very safe. This area is the safest area of Ecuador. So Loja is the safest city in Ecuador. This region is extremely safe, even in Ecuador. Because there are some places in Ecuador that are sketchy. Like, you don't want to walk around Guayaquil at 2 a.m. in the morning by yourself, or Manta, or even parts of Quito, or right, like there's places you would have to watch yourself. Here, I feel extremely safe. I mean, I lived in Loja for many years. I walked around anytime, night or day, phone in hand, computer in hand, without even a second thought to my safety.
Yeah.
Now, there are ways you can screw that up. So I think, I think the mistakes that foreigners have made is basically they come down, they think they're in some sort of magical paradise. They build a beautiful $200,000-$300,000 house and do zero security. So it's like screen doors, and they think just like, oh, they don't have to worry about anything. No, that's not the case. You need to do what Ecuadorians do, which is have a little bit of a deterrent, and you're good. It's not common here to have your home broken into or anything like that, but you certainly can make yourself a target, Ecuadorian or not. You can make yourself a target by showing a lot of wealth and having no security.
And easy access. So I'd say in Ecuador, they're opportunistic thieves. So you leave your phone out in your car right in front of a tienda, your side windows down or whatever, they're just going to reach in and snag it. It's almost more acceptable here than in a lot of other places I've either visited or heard about. So, theft is a thing here, but it's all about, is it easy? Like, there's not a lot of premeditated, planned, like, robberies and break-ins. Whereas in other parts of the world, like, people are smart and they're, like, actually strategizing on how to do it. Here, it's just, if there's an opportunity and they see it, it's just like this irrational, I'm going to do it, and they go for it. So don't leave yourself in that position.
100%. And that gets into a whole interesting cultural conversation, which we won't have now. But but the type of crime is very different. And that's kind of what Ryan's starting to get at there. Is you're much less likely here to be the victim of like violent crime, but you're much more likely to be a victim of petty theft. So, you want to, exactly as Ryan said, like if you have your property, you just don't want to make it easy for someone to just kind of be like, and just come grab something and take it, because that is much more common than back home. But violent crime, rape, murder, gunpoint type stuff practically doesn't exist. Yeah.
They're such a kind people group.
Okay, how easy, this is kind of a funny one, we'll have, how easy is it to get mail down there? Well, I'll just start by saying that mail doesn't exist in a certain way, and of course we're going to give some color to that, but there isn't a mailman or mailbox or post office that sends those people out. You don't get bills in the mail, you don't get spam in the mail, junk mail, that does not exist. There's courier services. There is a post office, which you can have a post office box in, although they went bankrupt and I don't know what's happening with that now, but that does exist. And FedEx operates and DHL operates, and there's Entrega where you can send stuff to someone's door anywhere in the country. It's very inexpensive. There's you can send things on the bus to any other bus station in the country. That's very easy. So it's very easy to move things around, but it's not mail per se.
Right.
Anything to add?
You covered it.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay.
No, go.
I did think there was a mail services in the cities, like you can actually get mail shipped.
Can
like
you to your door? I mean, I haven't seen it, but you may.
Yeah. Well, I've had stuff shipped to the post office in the city.
Yeah, absolutely.
But typically, like the courier service that Jesse is referring to, if you want to get stuff mailed here or sent here, there are people who do the trip back and forth between the U.S. and Ecuador, and they can bring things down for a certain amount, for usually around $10 a pound, more or less. That could change. Mules. And you can get stuff, within 2 weeks from the U.S., from Amazon or whatever, which is pretty convenient. It didn't used to be like that. It was hard to get stuff. Now it's a lot easier.
And it's not as necessary as it used to be. very quickly, 2013, I go to the equivalent of like a Champ Sports, right? Like a sporting goods store, to pick up some things, and I walked out of there without buying anything because a pair of sneakers that should be $80 to $120 is like $180, and I'm just not paying that. And everything was crazy. I went in there recently, bought 2 pairs of shoes. I bought a pair of Nike running shoes for like $80 and a pair of Nike basketball shoes for about 105. This is like US prices. So the trade deals have worked. The import taxes have gone down a lot, and you don't need, it's not as needed as it used to be to constantly be bringing stuff in. There's still some things that are a pain to get here that you want to bring in.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
Did you mention DHL?
yeah, DHL, FedEx, and that works great. It's inside of a week usually. A little pricey, like what, like $60-$80 usually documents, and then much more, of course, if it's a box or something like that.
If you need to get documents for visa things, DHL works pretty well. Yeah. Quick.
Oh, one thing we didn't cover on the visa. A lot of people ask, like, can I come to Ecuador and then apply for the visa later? Yes, but it's better if you bring your documents with you.
Right.
You can usually get the documents once you're in Ecuador from the States or wherever you're coming from. You normally can do that through the mail, but it means DHL packages and having someone who can receive them, and you're getting them apostilled in the States, and it's just easier to do that before you arrive. But in a pinch, you can come here and have that done from distance. Okay, that was the next question. Can I order online from the U.S. and have it shipped to Ecuador? Anything to add to that? Did we cover that pretty well?
Yeah,
I would say that in Ecuador, it's surprising, as Jesse was mentioning, you can use Mercado Libre. It's kind of like Amazon here. Of course, it doesn't have as much available, but you can get. It's surprising the amount of things, the stuff you can get in Mercado Libre. It's already here in Ecuador. You can get it shipped. So you might not need what you think you need.
Right.
Facebook Marketplace is phenomenal too.
Yeah.
Place to just buy stuff, sort of as Craigslist used to be in the States. But yes, you can have stuff shipped down here from Amazon. They have services where they give you an address, you send it there, they bring it down. It takes a couple of weeks. Around $10 a pound usually. Okay, what is the garbage management like there? Is there trash all over the streets?
No.
Are we dirty, guys? How dirty are we?
We're clean.
See how clean this guy looks?
There's some trash here and there from people throwing trash out the window. This is, it's what it is. But no, there's trash pickup. What I will say you'll notice is that each kind of like neighborhood community has the spots where they'll bring their trash to, and sometimes they'll just put it like on the ground, and then the dogs come in the middle of the night because they put it out the night before, and then the dogs will kind of whatever. And so when the garbage truck comes, the guys are like hopping off and like trying to throw all the trash in while the truck's still driving. So do they get everything that's on the ground, random little pieces? Maybe not. So sometimes you see that, but overall, no, this is it's clean.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of clients come over the years from other countries in Central or South America, and they all remark on how clean it is.
Right.
There's kind of a stigma or reputation or something that some Latin American countries, there's trash all over and dogs and all that kind of stuff. And, that might be true in some places a bit. So, like, if you go to some of the sort of poorer areas on the coast, just signal to her to grab that. If you go to some of the poorer areas on the coast, certain cities can get a little run down. There can be a little more trash, but like Loja, this area, really this whole region, all the Orient, pristine, beautiful. People right there. People might be slightly more likely, as Ryan mentioned, to sort of toss something, out the window than we would be, perhaps where we come from. But in general, it gets cleaned up, and it's pretty good.
Yeah, I'd say if you're coming from Phoenix, Arizona, you're probably gonna think there's trash everywhere. Like, that place is like pristine. They spend a ton of money to make sure there's never any trash on any of the city streets or highways or anything like that. But yeah.
And they have go ahead.
I was gonna say Loja won the cleanest city in Ecuador.
Yeah.
They won a prize or something.
Yeah.
I guess they do this. I don't know.
I mean, there's always workers on the street, and they've got their little broom and dustpan, and they're always cleaning up something. So they do try.
They even have the trucks now with the sweeper that drives them.
I haven't seen that. Awesome. Wow.
Yeah, Loja's pretty clean.
We're moving up in the world.
We're moving up. Okay, I heard I'll have to pay more for things since I'm a foreigner. Is that true? Gringo prices, baby. What do you guys got on that?
Yes, you will. But
Not
how
always, not
much
always.
more? I mean, not a lot more. If they Gringo price you, they're not trying to charge you double for an apple, you know. But maybe if the apple's supposed to be 25 cents, it's going to be 35 for you. So,
I mean, in Vilcabamba in general, it's already almost priced in with like
Yeah.
the stores that
Yeah.
that the gringos go to, that the foreigners go to, are just, they're a little marked up. They're a little more expensive, you know. The local stores, if you shop at the local stores, you'll get the local prices, I think.
yeah, here in Vilcabamba, yeah, it's pretty standardized. Maybe if you go to Loja and you just find yourself in all these little random tiendas or the larger markets, and they see you and they're not as accustomed to dealing with expats, and they might find that as an opportunity to raise the price on you.
Yeah, you can get gringo priced. It happens. That being said, like, you learn prices pretty quickly, and then it doesn't happen. So, you know, I don't think it's a big deal, something you have to worry about. And even to Carl's point, where, like, it's true, all the stores I shop in Vilcabamba, and I'm a fluent Spanish speaker, my wife's Ecuadorian, like, I've got this stuff, you know, figured out. The places that I shop at in Vilcabamba absolutely are more expensive, but I'm paying for that purposefully because it's either organic or it's a higher quality product. Or, you know, I mean, probably a lot of Ecuadorians think we're crazy for the stuff we buy, right?
Yeah.
We buy, you know, a $4 little jar of tomato sauce, or, you know, a $10, you know, thing of honey, but we're looking for the products we're looking for, and they're more expensive because there isn't any demand. No one else is looking for them. It's just us, and we're willing to pay that premium because it's maybe organic or it's pure or whatever it is. But yes, opportunistically, will people try and charge you a little more from time to time? Sure. Not everyone. It's not something you have to spend your time worrying about. It does exist. As soon as you figure out prices, you'll know when it's happening, and you'll give them a look, and they'll fix the price and feel foolish about it.
You can always negotiate.
Exactly. The first time I bought a car here, I didn't negotiate the price. I was like, oh, that's the price? Okay, that's how much I paid. But, you know, if I'd been smart, like, when you buy a car, you want to negotiate a little bit. Usually it's advertised at a higher price.
Sure.
But, you know, that's how they justify it. It's like, if you're willing to pay it, then I'm not really ripping you off. You know, that's how much you're willing to pay that much.
Yeah, but negotiating is normal here. So normal you can negotiate in like department stores, like main commercial, you know, the department stores.
Like the equivalent of Home Depot.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't negotiate there.
Yeah, yeah. You can.
I know.
Like
He taught me that too. I had no idea.
Like you can do it. At Kiwi, just ask, and they're like, yeah, we'll give you a little discount.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks.
Sweet.
So always ask.
Will I have to learn Spanish to live there? Are there Spanish schools and teachers there? Depends where you live, right? If you're going to live in a place where no one speaks English, you should probably learn Spanish. There's Spanish schools all over. That's not a problem. There's a lot of people, though, that live like in Vilcabamba, for example, where so many people speak English. Cuenca would be another place like that. Montanita would be like that. There's a expat community in Manta that doesn't necessarily speak English. Probably one in Quito, maybe surrounding areas of Quito, like Cotacachi and things like that. So if you're in a place where there's English speakers, you certainly don't have to learn Spanish. If you want to be completely with Ecuadorians, you probably want to learn Spanish. But in general, if you take the time to learn Spanish, it will increase your experience, or I should say, not increase your experience. It will make your experience richer.
Enhance it.
Enhance is the word I'm looking for. Thank you. Anything to add?
Not to that, but I've got another question. I don't know if it's on there. I'm
Sure.
just gonna throw it in, unless you guys have an add on that last.
Like Jesse said, you know, you can live in Vilcabamba without learning Spanish, but I would say, yeah, it will be a lot better for you if you do learn the language.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people here are not speaking Spanish and getting along just fine. So
Yeah.
yeah, you can do it. Question: how are the insects? And as I'm just sitting here, I'm noticing, you know, we haven't had anything bugging us, literally. Like usually they go for your elbows, but I'm not feeling it. So it's not all the time. I come from Washington State. Mosquitoes, you know, would swarm me when I'd go out camping or, you know, go anywhere outside of the city, even in the city. But here the mosquitoes are not like that, even though they exist here. And then the no-see-ums, they'll come and try to get your elbows or your ankles, but they hatch and then they're out for a few, 3, 4, 8 days, and then they kind of fade, and then something else makes them hatch. I don't really know what their cycles are. So really not the worst. Although if you come here and you got fresh legs,
It's true.
but they get used to you, or you start eating the food here, or something happens
Something.
where they don't bother you in the same way as they did when you first arrived. When you look at your legs and it's like, whoa, look at me! I got pelted by a paint gun. What is this?
It's such a
paintball
funny
gun, you
phenomenon.
know, like.
No, they love fresh blood.
They do.
I think the body starts producing something that attracts them or something. I don't know what it is.
It's so
you've
strange,
lived
but
here for a
so
while.
true.
Yeah.
So it goes away. Just come and brace for it for a few months, I'd say, and then it goes away.
Yeah, I mean, I don't personally consider bugs bad here at all. There are a few times where they're bad, but it's infrequent enough that so I come from the Northeast U.S., Vermont, New York. The bugs were much worse there in the spring and summer than they are here. It was like it was either cold and they're dead, or it was warm and they're a pain. You know, they were a pain. So I mean, I think the bugs here are not bad, but yeah, they somehow, for whatever reason, they destroy people the first few weeks or whatever it is.
Very interesting.
Is it easy to get a job there?
No, probably not.
No.
There's a lot of unemployment. Actually, jobs are a scarce resource for the local people, at least.
And they don't pay very well because of
pay
that.
very
The
well.
supply demand dictates that they don't pay so well. You're better off starting a business. There's so many investment opportunities. There's so many business opportunities. It's really ripe in that way, but it's hard. It's not a great job market.
Yeah, just come with if you have a trade or a craft and you feel like you can provide a service for the community, just come, check it out, and see if actually there's a need for that trade, craft, service that's not being provided for, and then just go for it. Like we would, as expats, prefer some of those things that we're used to from the States. If you can provide that here, then you can make a living. Like there's a guy here who sharpens knives.
Right.
Like you wouldn't think, but the guy's busy, right? Because we need our knives sharpened. If we're not doing it ourselves on one of our little stones, you know, like we need a place to bring it. We can't just send our Cutco knives back to, well, maybe we could send them back to the States, but whatever the case, you don't send them back to Cutco. You take them in. So anyways, if you have a trade or a craft, you know, bring it here and give it a shot. You'll probably, the cost of living is low enough. You can make enough money. If you have a little side, some saved up money, whatever. A lot of people make it work here with little.
Totally.
Yeah.
Great point. Are there any Christian churches in the area?
Yes, no, maybe so. So there is a Seventh-day Adventist church. There are a few local churches, like Christian but Spanish speaking.
Right.
So maybe is this for like expats who only really want an English speaking church? Technically, there's not like a non-denominational church. Me being a believer, same with Carl here. Jesse, maybe on board sometime soon. No, there's like enough Christians in the area that like we'll come together for like prayer and worship nights, that kind of thing. Come together for home churches, like different ages. Some with families in their 30s and 40s, and others a little older, and then some a little older, and mix it up with friends and families coming together. And then what about Loja?
Well, I was going to say there's various Bible study groups that have popped up throughout Vilcabamba, smaller groups, home churches, I guess. There is one church in Loja that I know some expats go to. There's quite a few missionaries, also Americans that are part of that church.
Yeah.
It's called La Semilla de Mostaza, the mustard seed. That's one of the churches that I know people go sometimes to in Loja.
Maybe by the time you get here, there'll be a church if that's something that interests you.
Yeah.
But-
Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, like, Ecuador is a Catholic country,
That's
but I've heard and I've seen some statistics that the evangelical, like more of the Christian or Protestant branch of Christianity is increasing quite a bit in Ecuador as a movement.
And as Ryan mentioned, Bible study and groups that get together. There's a lot of that, so you can certainly participate in that here as a Christian.
Get in touch with us and we'll get you plugged in.
If we buy land, how easy is it to stay? Are there visas for that? Yes, there's a investor visa, which includes the purchase of real estate. Currently around $40,000 in minimum value, goes up a little bit every year. It's pegged to the minimum wage. So that is something that will get you the visa here. And again, you can get in touch with us and we can discuss that with you further. So how easy is it to stay? Very. And overall, Ecuador is just a very easy country to immigrate to. They, every couple of years they make some small changes to the immigration laws, but none of them have been, most of them have actually been positive. There hasn't really been any changes that have made it significantly more difficult to come and live here. Is it easy for foreigners to buy land and get citizenship? Another cool thing about Ecuador, there is no restrictions here to foreign ownership of property, whether it's corporate or whether it's an individual. You don't ever have to step foot in Ecuador to buy and sell property here. You don't have to ever step foot in Ecuador to operate a business. You can put it in a corporation, and you can operate any way you want, which really is an absolute added benefit, because there's a lot of countries where you have to put it in someone else's name, or foreigners are restricted in various ways. So that is, something that's very nice here. What is the building process? Sorry, you guys want to add? Go.
Well, did you touch on the citizenship part? Getting
Please,
citizenship.
go right ahead.
Is it? Am I wrong? Is it 5 years? You have to live here for 5 years.
I thought it was 3. Yeesh. I don't know. I don't
It's
remember.
either 3 or 5
It
years.
used to be 3, and now
Used to
it's
be-
now
Did
it's
they change
5.
it to 5?
I
Okay.
think,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Well, then if you've lived here for either 3 to 5 years without leaving, having residency, you can apply for citizenship. You have to do a test where they test your history of Ecuador, your Spanish and all that. And if you pass the test, you can get citizenship. I think that's pretty much it.
Yep.
Awesome.
So yeah, Google it. It's either 3 or 5 years. I thought it was 3. It may have changed to 5.
Not sure either.
So we'll check that. Okay. What is the building process like there? I just recorded a podcast on this. Check that on the channel. By the way, if you've made it this far, give us a like, please. Subscribe. Look at that face. Like, you
Thumbs
want
up.
to
Thumbs up.
share the video, please.
Show
Hit
your
the bell.
support.
Hit the bell so you get the notifications. We'd really appreciate it. So yeah, I'd say it's a long answer, but and so check the podcast. The very short version is you can do it. There's a good way. We can help you with it. We have lots of people we can refer you to who are expert builders in the area and can guide you through the process. Every municipio, every area is totally different, so it's almost silly, and the rules change all the time. So it's almost silly for us to talk too much in depth. Again, you can check out the podcast. We talked about it for an hour. Different building materials and requirements and zoning and permitting and all that stuff is in that show. So check that out for a more robust answer. But anything you guys want to add for now?
Sounds like you got to check your podcast.
Check out the podcast, guys.
Okay. How long does it take? I tell people a year. You can get, and that's basically 3 months for permitting if you're in an area that requires permitting, and then 6 to 9 months for construction. Can you get it done more quickly than that? Sure, but if you schedule a year, generally speaking, you won't be outside of that. Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
What are common building styles and materials used? I gotta get out of here. I'm just gonna keep rolling. So concrete is the most popular by far. It's easy, it's cheap, people know how to do it, it's not labor intensive. Brick is in that category as well. Then you have adobe, which I love. Not significantly more expensive, but it takes a bit more time. It's more labor intensive, but it breathes and regulates temperature, is really nice. Then you have tapia, which is rammed earth, becoming a lost art, but there's still people who can do that. Then you get in alternative styles like earth bag or earth bricks, or what do they call that? Something like that. And a lot of foreigners have done stuff like that, but it's not really usually local knowledge.
Aircrete.
Aircrete, right? That's a cool one, actually. I looked into that a while back.
People build with wood, bamboo as well. That can be done.
And you can do like a rustic beam with adobe, or you can do a very modern steel with glass or or other things like that. All that stuff's available, and people know how to use those materials. Last question. Is there another side? No. Last question. What are the costs associated with building? Oh, good. I can bang this out quickly as well. So basically your range, and I have to give this to you in price per square meter, and you got to go on the computer and convert to price per square feet if you want feet. But basically, and it's 11 to 1 approximately. Square feet is 11 to square meters 1. So you're looking at a range of approximately $300 a square meter at the low end, and I'm talking about the low end of acceptable. Like, could you build something for less than that? Sure, but you're not going to want to live in it. So the low end of acceptable is about $300 a square meter, and then I usually say up to about $800 a square meter. Can you go above $800 a square meter? Absolutely, you could go up to $1,200 a square meter, but then you're talking anything above $800 a square meter. You're talking like 100% marble floors, all wood, all like literally the highest end, world-class 5-star luxury. $800 a square meter is still very luxurious. You still can use a lot of wood. You could use some marble. You can use glass. You can use, solid wood cabinets, solid wood doors, all that stuff, no problem. So your sweet spot is sort of that $400 to like $700 or even $600 range per square meter. That's kind of your sweet spot. Your $400 square meter, you can still build a really nice house, very nice house, but your finishing materials, which is what affects price, right? So the structure essentially doesn't change price it's a negligible change to price. Your price change is in your finishing materials. So if you're at that $300 or $400 price per square meter range, you're not having solid wood cabinets. You're not going to be able to do wood floors. You're going to have to do like tile floors, sort of that, what do they call that? Sort of composite material, cabinetry, hollow doors. You can still have a great roof. You still can have a very nice house. Beautiful bathroom, all that stuff. But you can't do marble. You can't do a lot of wood, things like that. Once you get up to over 400, into that $500, $600, and then $700 range, you can really start to introduce some more higher end finishing materials, get into some, some porcelain or some marble, or, certainly have your granite countertops, your hardwood cabinetry, things like that. Once you get above $600, you get into that $800 range, you're really luxurious at that point. You get above 800, you're talking, again, world-class, absolute world-class luxury.
Well put.
Gentlemen, ladies, thank you so much for tuning in. I am very late. We're here in Vilcabamba. I forget what episode, but 10. Season 2, episode 10. We hope you enjoyed it. Again, give us a like, give us a share, comment. If you have more questions, please leave them in the comments. We'll do another one of these in the future. abecuador.com, info@abecuador.com to reach us. We'd love to help you live your Ecuadorian dreams.
Right.
Have a great day.
See ya.